Hi, this is Coach Shawnee Lavender, and I am here today talking about what you can do as a parent. And you're probably already doing some of it, but maybe there's some things you're not aware of yet. What you can do specifically to provide the four S's. And these S's are, I'm going to just say them as their words because otherwise it's weird: safety, soothing, being seen, and feeling secure. So you want to provide your child with the experience of being safe, soothed, seen, and secure. So I'm going to read for you this quote, and I've got this actually over on my Facebook page, but some of you are going to be watching this on YouTube, and you may not see that same quote. So here it is. This is from Dan Siegel and Tina Bryson. This is from their newest book, The Yes Brain, which I'm teaching a program in right now. But I'm going to read this quote to you. It says, or they say, if you do nothing else but provide your child with the experience of feeling safe, soothed, seen, and secure most of the time, you're doing the most powerful thing you can do to build an integrated, resilient brain. So let me read that one more time. If you do nothing else but provide your child the experience of feeling safe, soothed, seen, and secure most of the time, you're doing the most powerful thing you can do to build an integrated, resilient brain. And again, that's from Dan Siegel and Tina Bryson, two of my favorite parenting gurus and teachers. And what I wanted to do today, there are lots of different ways you can do this, do these four S's. And I want to share some of them with you because I know a lot of the parents that I work with, what really helps them is like, give me something practical, like what are the words I can say or what can I actually do? So I wanted to share a few of those strategies with you for each of these four S's so you can start to practice them more and be consciously aware of, oh, here's what I could do to help my child feel safe. Here's what I can do so they know that I see them and they're seen as they are. So that's my goal today, is to share some of these with you. Feel free, as usual, for those of you that are watching on Facebook, feel free to comment live and I will do my best to respond live if you've done some of these or you have a go-to phrase or thing that you do. If you're watching this on YouTube, feel free to comment there as well. I definitely interact there also. So even though it's not live, I definitely check out the comments. All right. So let's get into the first S, which is safe, helping your child feel safe. Before I do that, though, let me actually also say that this is important all the time, as Dan and Tina said. However, it's especially important when your child is in a moment of distress. So when they're feeling upset, when they've got big emotions or something just happened that they're reacting to, it's even more important. Well, I don't know if I want to say it that way because I don't want you to think, oh, I should do it then and not now. I don't want you to do that. I want you to know that when they're in those moments of distress, these are some of the best things you can do to help them get back into a more calm, settled moment, a better brain state, all those things. So know that in those moments of distress, the more you can provide the four S's, the more your child can settle out of their upset and move back into a calmer, more receptive state. Okay, so that's the way to clarify it. So let's talk about that first S, safe. So there are several things you can do. I'll also talk about a few that you do not do's. I like to emphasize more the positive. So just know that they're going to be a little mix though. So one of the things you can do is really respond gently and lovingly to misbehavior. And I put misbehavior in air quotes here because I don't believe there's misbehavior. I believe there's behavior. And sometimes we like the behavior as parents. Sometimes we don't like it. It's all simply behavior. So to help them feel safe, we want to respond in a gentle, loving way. So that's not what a lot of us got when we were children. And it's often sometimes not what we give our own children because we're upset. You know, when they're doing something we don't like, we tend to be upset. So our responses aren't always as gentle and loving as they can be. So as best you can, be gentle and loving when your child is doing something that you don't like. And one of the best ways to do that is to empathize with them. Really be in their shoes. Yeah, they're upset. maybe there's not a good reason in your mind that they should be upset, but for them, they are upset and there is a good reason. So you really want to empathize, take their perspective and validate it as, yeah, absolutely, that's true. I get it. And I see how you're feeling right now. Along with that, empathize first is leave the teaching to later. Yeah, I'm even going to push it off the screen here. Teach later. Just leave it. That's not always going to feel safe for your child. So the way for them to feel safe is really empathize with them and respond in this loving way. Second thing, and this is something you don't want to do. You don't want to punish. You don't want to threaten punishments. You don't want to impose consequences. Now, if you want to know more about consequences, and maybe you've thought or you do consequences and you're thinking, why wouldn't I do that, Shawnee? I have another video. Go over to the video section of my page, Shawnee Lavender Parent Coaching, and look for that consequences video, and you'll know why I say not to do consequences. So all of those things, punishments, threats of punishments, consequences, those all take away a sense of safety from your child. So you want to avoid those things. The third thing you want to do, and I already talked about this a little bit in the first one, is you want to validate their emotions. So never trivialize their emotions, never minimize them. Yeah, maybe it's not a big deal to you. Maybe it's nothing to cry about for you, but it is to them. So you want to always validate. Their emotions are 100% valid for them. Always. No exceptions. They're valid. Now, doesn't mean their behavior choice was always what you want them to make. That's a different thing. Emotions, how they feel, what their experience is internally, 100% valid. So validate that. Recognize it. Acknowledge. Say, yeah, I get you're feeling really angry. Or I see that's really tough right now. Yeah, you're feeling sad. You want more time with mom, and it's really hard. She's been busy. Yeah, absolutely. That's me talking about myself in the third person to my daughter yesterday. You do that. Like, yeah, I get it. I get it, kid. I totally get you. The next thing, I should have numbered these. I just put dots by them, but I think it's 4, is you want to find quieter ways to express your own frustration rather than yelling or blaming. I know, again, for a lot of us, part of what we learned was when we get angry, irritated, annoyed, we get loud or we get big or we're like, we just have facial expressions, right? We all have those looks. So as much as you can, you want to practice. Yes, you're going to have emotions. Absolutely. Unless you're a robot parent out there, you are going to have emotions. So have them. However, if they're big, go in another room if you can. If you can't go to another room, my coach, Carrie Conti, she would talk about, fake yell, do it, whisper scream, however you need to do it so that it's not so intense for your child. So yes, you're going to have emotions and you have the freedom to express them as well. That's important for us as adults. And yet, when we do it in a way that is really big and out there, it can be really traumatic and scary for our children. So learn ways to work with that so you're not so in their face with your upset. The fifth thing you can do to help your child feel safe is to apologize. Well, own your bad choices and your bad moments. And by that, I mean, take responsibility for them and then apologize. And that's really important because, again, you're not robot parent. I know I'm not. So we are going to have times where, oops, I yelled, or, oh, crud, I said that thing that I don't like to say. I did it yesterday, planting seeds with my daughter. I was just not, there were reasons that made sense to me, but I wasn't doing it in a way that I wanted to. And so it's like, own that, Shawnee, own that and say, you know what, I'm really sorry. I didn't like the way I behaved to you, and that was about me, and I'm going to do it differently next time. And I really sincerely apologize. So own those things. Let them know. So even when they haven't felt safe, you get to repair that. Because that lets them know, like, yeah, I get that it didn't feel safe for you right then. You didn't feel safe. And that doesn't mean like they're scared you're, gonna hit them. It doesn't mean that, but they literally like don't have a feeling of safety. Apologize and say, yeah, I get that I missed the mark. And so reestablish that that's what you're going for. Okay, I'm pausing because I'm coming over to Facebook because I see some comments. Aw, thanks. Thank you, honey, for sharing my video. It's always good to have your husband be one of your assistants. I should give him little hearts, but I can't. Okay, back to it then. All right, let me re-record here. Now let's talk about how you can soothe, how you can provide that experience of your child being soothed. So I wrote down 4 things. I can see there's 4 dots here. So one thing you can do is give them gentle touch when they're upset. So one of my favorites is putting my hand in the middle of my daughter's back, just doing nothing with it, often just like it's there, hello, I'm there. Sometimes I'll rub her back a little bit. Sometimes I'll put my hand on her knee. Sometimes I'll hold her hand. You can stroke their head, stroke their hair, give them some gentle physical touch that is helping them. It's like, I'm here. You don't have to be verbal all the time to soothe them. You can just be physical sometimes. Yeah, I'm here. You can sit right next to them, and give them that gentle touch of your physical presence next to their body. You want to hold them gently. And we already do this. This is part of our natural instinct, right? As parents, when our children are hurting, especially like a physical hurt, there's that part of us that wants to just scoop them up and it's okay, baby, and kiss, 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 and love, love, love. So you want to do that same kind of thing. That's a big part of soothing. It's the things that many of us did early on. It's that skin to skin contact. It's that physical contact. It's that eye contact in a loving way. It's that saying, literally providing them a sense of being soothed and held. So that's the kind of feel and touch that you want to give them when you're holding them. The third thing you want to do, and this is one that I think a lot of us forget sometimes, is when our kids are upset, sometimes when we want to take quick action, we come rushing in and we're like, and we may not act like that, but there is part of our energy that is conveying that, oh no, it's chaos, I've got to help, oh, you're bleeding, or whatever the thing is. And when we come in with that kind of frenetic energy, that's like, oh, I'm not feeling soothed now. You're crazy over there. I don't feel soothed. So neurologically, you want to provide that energetic, soothing energy, that energetic sense of like, it's okay, I'm here, we're going to be okay, you're going to be okay. So be mindful of whatever's happening with your child. Are you coming in with this calm sense about you, or is your energy feeling scattered and chaotic, or scared, or driven like I have to do something? Much better to take one breath, to let that have to come out of your shoulders and then come over like, oh, baby. So you want to get your energy calmed down before you respond. And the fourth thing is you want to tend to their hearts before disciplining their heads. So this is about that idea that, again, from a child's perspective, bad behavior, something they did that we didn't like, there's always a valid reason for it. It's my brother took my thing first and I was retaliating, or it's just I'm feeling upset and it just finally came out. Doesn't matter, but for them, they're in a state of upset. And so you really want to acknowledge that empathy, that tending to where they're at emotionally in their hearts before you go to the logic piece and trying to teach them. You want to soothe them. That's how you do it. You soothe it by being with them first before teaching them or moving them into a logical discussion about what they did right and what they did wrong, and so on and so forth. Okay? So those are the first two, safe and soothed. Now let's talk about how you help your child feel seen. So the 3 things that I have in this topic area are, number 1, acknowledge your child for no good reason. And again, I put for no good reason in air quotes, because this is not about something they actually technically may have done right at that moment, or you're giving them feedback on an action. No, this is like simply taking that time to appreciate, acknowledge, be grateful for, and express that to them. So I'm going to give a few examples just because, again, not everybody does this. So you may be like, I don't know what you're talking about, Shawnee. So here's a few things you might say, or something like this. I love having you as my daughter. I'm so grateful you're my kid. You know, it's acknowledgement. Simply really grateful you're in my life, right? Another thing you might say, I so miss you when we're apart. I missed you today at school. Something like that, something that's like, yeah, when you're not here, I notice because I miss you and I'm connected and I love you. So that's another thing you can say. Thank you for what you bring to our family. Or I love the laughter you bring into our house. I love your creative spirit. So it's something, it can be somewhat precise in the acknowledgement. It's this idea, though, that, again, I see you. I'm grateful for you. Your presence is a gift to me, and I want you to know it. So that's one thing you can do under helping your child be seen. The second thing you can do, and sometimes this is more of a challenge depending on what your child's interests are, you can be curious about what they're passionate about and thank them when they share their passions with you. So my daughter, I know, has gone through different phases. So when she was really, really little, she used to make bug stew. And it wasn't really bug stew. It was dirt and, twigs and stuff mixed up. But like, that was a thing she did for a long time. It's like, oh, bug stew, more, and I was like, oh, yeah, it's bug stew. But it's like, that was her passion. She was 18 months old and 2 years old, but like, that was her passion. Like, this is what she's going to make, is bug stew. And that's what she's into. So you can acknowledge that. Be like, you are the big bug stew girl, or you love bug stew. Thank you for showing me your bug stew. Oh, thank you for helping me learn how to make bug stew. Whatever you want to say, but it's like, I get this is your passion. I see you engaged in it, and I'm curious about it. So you can do the same thing with your teenager, or maybe younger than teenager. They like Minecraft, or they like some other video game, or they like some show or some music. Even if it's not your favorite, it's the same thing. Maybe they roll their eyes when you play something from your era. But it's that idea that you are saying, I see you. I see that this is something that's in your life that you have an interest and passion in. And I appreciate that. Again, it doesn't mean you have to love what they love, but appreciate that, yeah, this is you right now. This is what you're into. So thank them for that. So be appreciative of them having their passion and expressing it and showing it and sharing it. The third thing you can do to help your child feel seen is sort of a multi-format piece here. Affirm their efforts. So whether that's an effort in changing a behavior that you don't like to something you do, affirm, hey, I saw you started to, hit your brother and then you stopped. I see that. I appreciate that. So it's acknowledging, like, I see you're making this effort. I see you're engaged in this. It could be effort towards something that they are really, really wanting to do. Like maybe they're wanting to master finger knitting, or they're wanting to master playing the violin. Acknowledge their effort. Boy, I see the amount of practice time that you're putting in with your violin. Or, boy, you have done a lot of finger knitting lately. Whatever it is, it's like, acknowledge. Yeah, I see you're making effort. You also want to acknowledge or give voice to their struggles or their perspective. So this goes back a little bit towards the lines of empathy. It's saying, I see right now, school's been rough this week. Or, yeah, it's been really hard lately with your dad. Whatever. It's acknowledging that you are seeing, you are paying attention, and you notice, and you are putting your energy on them, and being aware of what's going on in their life, where they're at. So you want to acknowledge that piece of struggle, or just what it looks like from their side right now. And you also, the third piece of this third idea of helping your child be seen is you want to admire their progress. So this is that idea. I'm not a big fan of praise. And if you want to get some more of my perspective on it, you can read a lot of the work from Alfie Kahn. He talks a lot about the detriments of praise. And I was a praise junkie, so I can relate to a lot of what he said just personally as a kid. But this is more the idea of, again, I see where you're going. I see where you've been. I see where you are right now. I see what you're aiming for. And so acknowledge, like, yeah, you've really come a long way in that. So especially if your child, I would say, especially if your child sometimes struggles with perseverance, or they can get down on themselves and be pretty self-critical, help them. And it's not, again, you don't want to minimize their self-critical. If they're feeling, you don't say, oh no, you're fine. That's, again, minimizing. If they're like, I'm not fine, you don't want to cut it off. You want to say, I totally get that. I get that's your perspective. Can I share with you my perspective? Can I share with you what I've seen or what I've noticed lately? So it's yes and. So it's this idea of, this is where they are and where they perceive themselves to be, and yet you can give them that input on, you know what, I see something different. I see you really doing such great things in these ways, or I see that this and this have changed. So give them that appreciation for their progress that they've made. The fourth S that we're talking about here, we've talked about already: safe, soothed, seen. Now we're going to talk about secure. So some of these may be obvious, and yet again, I think they're worth saying, because as a parent, you're juggling so many balls oftentimes that it's like, oh yeah, I forgot that one. I know it, it's so obvious, and yet I forgot. So I'm your gentle reminder nudge today. So the first thing under helping them have security is be there for things that matter to them as much as you can. I know there's work and there's other responsibilities, and sometimes those mean that you're not going to be there for a school play or something else, a spelling bee, or performance they're giving, or hopefully you're there for a birthday, but you might not be there on their actual birthday. So be there in general, though, for things that matter for them. The second thing you want to do is really connect with them in undistracted ways. And this is, I think, a particular challenge for modern parents, because we often have a device nearby. I mean, my phone is right over here, right? So it's like we often have our devices nearby, and or even if we don't have devices, because many people really have full plates or maybe overfilled plates, we often are distracted up here. And so there's a lot of things you can do. I'm not going to go into it in this video, but really work with your own mind so that you can learn to be present with your child and give them that undivided attention, so that when you're with them, you're really with them, and they feel that and they notice that. The third thing you want to do, and this relates to really the first two, is I invite you to make up for those times when you've been occupied, either mentally or physically. So I had this happen yesterday, for instance. My daughter was actually home sick, and I have a very full week this week, and some of that was not directly in my control. A lot of it was. The bottom line was, it was full. And so because of the way things were, I chose and I wanted to be focused on my work. Well, she's home. And so when she's home, I also like to spend lots of time with her. And so I, though, said to her yesterday, I was like, you know what? I've got a couple things that are definitely need to get done today. And so I'm going to work on those. And when I'm done, then I'm going to, give you my attention. And I did take a couple breaks. So we had these moments, these pockets in there, but still she was unhappy because it was not as near as much time as she would have liked to have had with me on a day that she's not feeling well. And it's also not the amount of time I would like to give to her on a day that she's not feeling well. So I was really mindful of that afterwards. And so it was like, okay, tonight because I was able to do it that night, but maybe it's not till today. I said, okay, what can we do? And it doesn't have to be special. It doesn't have to be like, oh, now I am going to buy you a pony because I wasn't with you. It's not that. It is simply acknowledging, like, I get that was hard and it really wasn't a connection. And so I want to connect with you now. So make up for those times and acknowledge, like, yeah, I get that that was hard for you. And it was hard for me too. And so let's get together now. Okay, let's plan this time going into the future. So, okay, 2 days from now, let's set aside this time that we'll do some stuff. So make up for those times when you are, because it's going to happen, you are mentally or physically occupied. The fourth thing is to have daily connecting time. Now, again, depending on your schedule and your life and your family structure, that may be a real challenge. I invite you and encourage you to have that, though, be a ritual in your day, to really connect. And so if for you right now in your life, that's like, I got 5 minutes of connection time for the morning and I got 5 minutes at night, great. Take 5 minutes at morning and 5 minutes at night. That's sometimes the way life is. So really maximize, like, okay, I am definitely going to do this. We're going to do this every morning. We're going to do this every night. And when my schedule is, less full, or over the weekend, we'll do some more time. But like right now, you can count on this. So really make those connecting times. That's that undistracted, hey, we're together. And let your child lead that. I really invite you to let them lead that. So sometimes maybe you're reading them a book. Sometimes maybe you're simply sitting next to them as they're, building something with blocks. Maybe sometime you're helping them do homework because that's how they want to spend the time, but really have that connecting time and focus mostly on being, not just doing, but being with your child. And the last one, which I think is the fifth one that I want to share under security, is really be mindful of delivering feedback that your child has not asked for. Now, I say this because obviously as parents, sometimes there's like times where we're saying to ourselves, well, I want to tell them about this. I get that. I'm like that too. Be mindful though that would be like somebody that you have a relationship with just coming up to you and saying, hey, that outfit you wore yesterday, or that thing you said yesterday to so-and-so, I don't think that worked. It's like, well, wait, out of the blue, where's that come from? So I encourage you to be aware of, where's your child at? Are they in an open, receptive place to this? Have you had some good connecting time? Is it time that they're going to be able to really hear your feedback? Because if you're giving the feedback, well, let me rephrase that. Usually the reason we give feedback to somebody is we want them to be able to make some kind of shift or have some awareness of something. So as the speaker, if you deliver that feedback at a time that your listener, your child, cannot really hear you well, you just did a really ineffective job of delivering feedback because it was pointless because they didn't hear it. And we all do that sometimes. So you want to think about, where's my child at? Are they receptive to this right now? Have I set up the environment where it's really going to come across as loving and supportive versus critical and judging? So be mindful of that. And I know you have stuff to say to your kids. Pay attention to when you do it and how you do it. Along that same line, I would invite you, this is something I'm going to share a couple of examples with this, without stressing out, because I know sometimes it's like, oh, one more thing to my parent to-do list or my parent to-don't list. Not trying to burden you in any way, because I know you got lots going on. I will say that sometimes as parents, I think we forget how much our children are watching us and listening to us when we're not talking to them. And so be aware of, like, what are the messages you're sending? Are you sending messages unknowingly that could lead your child to develop a sense of not feeling really secure? And so I've got a couple examples. So my stepdad, I remember very vividly once, we were on a family vacation in Hawaii, which was lovely. And we were in a gift shop looking at various gift shop items. And we were my stepdad, my stepbrother, and I were near a little carousel thing that had postcards on it. And, you can imagine Hawaii, right? There'd be pineapples and leis and, beautiful ocean views and palm tree views. So there are a lot of those. And there were also postcards that had bikini-clad women on them. And I'm guessing you can probably guess this as well, but these were women who might have been like in the Sports Illustrated swimsuit edition as well. So they were women that, from our cultural perspective, have these amazing bodies. And I think I was 13. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I was 13. And so my stepdad makes some comment, not really to me. I think he actually was talking to my brother, which I don't know, that probably even makes it more more problematic. But nonetheless, and he was being lighthearted, but he was like, va 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 voom, he was talking about these women in their bikinis. And I particularly remember that, these were women who had pretty large breasts, and who knows if they were always totally, fully covered by their swimsuits. And at 13, and even up until I got pregnant late in my 30s, I was a pretty flat-chested young lady. And so for me, that was sort of like, oh, I don't know. Now, do I feel comfortable in myself now? And I'm not like them. Am I right? Is there something wrong with me? So that comment that he made was easy for me to interpret and have then this sense of uneasiness underneath me of like, oh, well, I'm not really sure I feel secure anymore. Like, I'm not that. And obviously that's cool. So maybe I'm not. So that's one example. The other example is my mom. Once we were at the dentist, and she was at my dental cleaning, and I was older as well. I believe for this one, I think I was probably 11, and she asked my dentist if there was anything that could be done about my gummy smile. And see, there, I'll show you. That's my gummy smile, right? And I was like, I thought I had this great smile. And so now all of a sudden I'm feeling self-conscious about, oh, I have too much gums. What's wrong? I didn't really think about that. That wasn't in my awareness as something that was a big deal. And so, and I know she didn't mean it in any kind of mean way or really judgmental way. And yet that sort of unsolicited feedback that wasn't directed at me really, but it was this question that was going on while I was in earshot, very close earshot, was like, oh, now I'm again feeling a lack of security there. I thought I was fine, and now I'm like, ooh, I feel wobbly. So again, not to freak us out like, oh my gosh, now I have to monitor every single thing I say. No, simply to be mindful of, yeah, our children are watching and listening to us even when we're not directing our communication at them. So be mindful of, what are we putting out there? Is it helping them to have a sense of security, or is it maybe making that feel a little bit shaky for them? So that's what I have to share today. It is specific ideas on what you can do to create the 4 S's that Dan Siegel and Tina Bryson talk about: safe, soothed, seen, and secure. The experience of those 4 S's for our children. And again, as Tina and Dan talk about, they said doing those things, providing those experiences most of the time gives your child the best chance to build an integrated and resilient brain. And in case you're not aware of Dan and Tina's work, one of the reasons you want to do that is that integrated resilient brain is a huge part of what is going to really help your child have a very high functioning life and be able to really move through the ups and downs of life with grace and ease. And I know I want that for my daughter. I want it for me. I want it for my daughter. And I want that for your children. And I'm sure you do too. So I hope those ideas are practical and give you something to practice with. As usual, I'm open to your comments and questions, so feel free to post those. And again, if you're watching this on Facebook, you can do that there. If you're watching it on YouTube, you can comment and question there. If you want to follow me and check in with the other videos and other resources I have, some of the best places you can do that are on Facebook. I can be found under Shawnee Lavender Parent Coaching. You can also go to my website, shawneelavender.com. I have a YouTube channel with hundreds of, well, almost 100 videos. I think there's a lot. So check those out as well. I have an Instagram feed. So I'm out there. So find me. Also, I have a group within Facebook called the Conscious Moms Circle. So it's a group of over 3,000 moms and dads worldwide who are on a path of conscious parenting. So a lot of really wonderful mutual peer support there. And I do classes and other things that I offer there as well. So check out all those things. I'm normally here on Facebook each Thursday. So if that's where you're watching me, catch me this time next week. If you're catching me on YouTube, feel free to subscribe to my channel and you'll get updates when I have new videos, which is usually once a week. All right, that's all for me today. I hope you have a wonderful day and wish you all the best in your conscious parenting journey. This is Shawnee Lavender and I'm the Conscious Moms Coach. Thanks for spending this time with me. Bye-bye.